Because I'm going to be wearing this look with a wig, it's very important that if you're going to make a helmet and you know you're going to be wearing something like a wig, you've got to make this to the size, because the wig is going to make your head quite a lot bigger, and if you don't take that into account, the helmet's going to be far too small for it. So the first thing we're going to do is start off with just tin foil to get the shape of the head. You want to wrap that round and make sure that it's completely compressed around your head. After that, you're going to want something which is going to keep it all together. Obviously, tin foil crinkles very easily and it's not something that you can just wear straight on your head. So once we've got the shape, we're going to be starting to use masking tape. And you just want to take small little strips and then apply it over your head until you've covered the whole thing. To get the dip at the front of the forehead, the way to do this is very simple. You want to get a piece of thin cardboard, cut it into a triangle. You're going to cut 3 little strips in a smaller triangle down the middle, the sides, and then you're going to tape them together so that it's going to curve a little over the front of your head. Stick those down, and then you're going to do exactly the same with the sides. Now the sides are quite simple. What you want to do is cut out an L shape, and then at the notch, just at the very middle of that L shape, you're going to cut it a little bit more and then tape it so that you're going to get a natural curve, and this way it's going to follow the shape of your face a lot better. With the tape, you're going to stick that down. Now, to make the whole thing a little bit more solid, I'm going to be taking some more strips of cardboard and I'm going to be sticking those down. Some of them I'm going to stick down with tape, and some of them I'm going to stick down with a staple or a glue gun. If that's what you have to hand, then you can use that as well. Once I've done that, I'm going to be applying papier-mâché, but I'm going to be doing it slightly differently. Traditionally, papier-mâché is done with flour and water. This time, I'm just going to be using a little bit of water and a lot of PVA glue. And then what I'm going to start doing is taking little strips of tissue and I'm going to start layering that over the whole helmet. And you're going to want to do a lot of these. It's going to give the helmet a much more interesting texture, and you don't really want that cardboard and tape to show through. So the more layers of papier-mâché you put on, the better it's going to look. While it's drying overnight, I'm going to tape together the front just so that it doesn't have the chance of falling to the side and drying lopsided overnight. Once it's dried the day after, I'm going to take a thicker piece of cardboard and I'm going to run this around the base of the helmet, and this is going to hold it into shape a lot more. Just make sure that it fits along the shapes, especially around at the front where it's going to stick out a little bit. You want to cut it to follow the shape of the helmet that you've already got underneath. And I'm going to be using a glue gun to stick this down, but if you've only got something like a staple, then that will work as well. Use whatever you have to hand. Now, to do the horns at the front, that's a lot easier than it looks. All you're going to need is some tin foil, some tissue, and what you want to do is start rolling it up in a horn shape. So you want the thicker amount of tissue at the very bottom of the horn, and then you want it to taper out further to the end. So you're going to place that in the middle of the tin foil, and you're going to roll it up, and then you're just going to keep rolling. You're going to start slowly twisting it around so that we're going to get this really beautiful, natural, organic shape, and it's going to help for once we start adding a bit more texture with the glue gun later on. And then once you've done that, we're going to start figuring out how it's going to stick onto the helmet. You're going to keep twisting it around, and what you need to do is you need to get that horn so that it's thicker in the middle but then thinner at the ends. That very end part is going to start in the curve at the top of the helmet, and then it's going to curl around and it's going to stick so that it's just along the sides of your eyes. And if you're not too sure about the shape, put the helmet on your head, look into a mirror and check. But once you've got the shape, get a glue gun. You're going to put down a thick layer for that to stick down onto. And then once that's down, you're going to fill in the edges. So wait for it to dry, and then you're going to put a thick layer all around the edges so that there isn't a chance of it wobbling and falling off. And then you're going to have to do exactly the same on the other side. If you accidentally apply too much glue, don't worry about it. Take a small piece of cardboard or a spatula, anything like that, and just scrape it away and blend it in around the horn. And then after you've done that, we're going to have to start adding a beautiful spiral shape to the horns. Now, if you've already twisted the tin foil, it's going to make it a lot easier because you're given a guideline to work with. And you're just going to keep looping that glue gun around it until we get a really thick layer of glue over the tin foil and there isn't as much of a chance of it denting and getting bent. The glue gun will give it a much thicker shell to work with. Now that it's dry, I'm going to spray paint it, and you want to pull away any little glue gun hairs that might have stuck to the edges. I'm going to be using a mixture of a few spray paints. I'm going to be using a textured spray paint. This is going to fill in any edges which look a little too much like cardboard, and it's going to make it look a little more like metal. I'm going to be using two different spray paints for this. One which is a slightly more gritty texture, and the one which is more of a stony texture. The stony texture is going to go last. I have to wait for that to dry, so you're probably going to have to leave it to dry overnight. And then after that, I'm going to put a coat of gold. Now, of course, there are a lot of different combinations you could do. You could just keep that gold spray paint, but then over that put different layers. You could use bronze, you could use a slightly darker bronze, make it look more aged and weathered. There's an endless amount of combinations that you could go for. Now, before people freak out, I should mention that this is not my real carpet. This is spare carpet that I keep to protect the floor. So no, I'm not spraying directly onto my living room floor. And that's it. You're done. That's how you make a helmet.